United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join in a moment of silence. Very much. Please be seated. Just a little housekeeping for the two new guys up here. If this light is red and this light is red, you are on. And if you want to turn it off. Okay, this is our organizational meeting for 2025 of the new Board of Supervisors. We begin with the adoption of the current Board of Supervisors bylaws for action because technically at this point there is no chair, and so the board needs to agree to some rules to proceed. The bylaws include some rules about actually even the process for nominating the chair. So with that, included in our backup items are the bylaws as currently provided. They are required to be adopted on the first meeting of the year after every general election, and they can be amended in a two-step process at any time. With that, I'm going to make a few comments about the bylaws for the benefit of the new members. After Iowa code, the bylaws are supposed to take precedence over simple motions. This hasn't always been the case, and I hope it is more so the case this year. Last year, or actually years ago, before any of you were all on the board with me, another supervisor referred to these rules as my silly little rules. And the last time I had to bang this gavel during a meeting, the supervisor to the left of me said, "You can bang that little gavel all you want." And obviously months ago, the rest of the board voted to overrule a portion of the bylaws with a simple motion. One supervisor, Mr. Bittinger, didn't want the fact that it suspended the bylaws to be in the minutes, but unfortunately that is what happened. But in fairness, the fact of the matter is these bylaws are not our Constitution, but I do think the board operates best when we all try to follow them because we are the ones who approve them, and I promise you it will come up throughout the year. It's the chair's job to enforce them and the board's job to follow the transparent two-meeting process to amend them if desired. So unless there are any additions we want to do at this time to the bylaws, I will move to approve them.
I'll second.
Second by Bittinger. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Item 2 is election of a temporary chair to preside over the election of the chairperson for action. This is customarily the prior chair's role.
I move to elect Matthew Young as temporary chair.
Second.
Motion by Nelson, second by Bittinger, to make Matthew Young temporary chair to preside over the election of the chairperson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Item 3 is election of the chairperson. Per the bylaws, this is done by nominations from the floor, after which we can have discussion and vote. So at this time, I'll open up the floor to discussion or nomination of the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I would just like to take a second and thank you for serving for the last 2 years. It was unprecedented to do back-to-back, and you had to do it at a time that there was a lot of tumultuous things going on, a lot of tumultuous topics, and I thought that you handled it very well. And, you know, I think a year ago, a little over a year ago, you and I had talked about just your workload and your stress, and I hope that Dan and I were of help to you in this past year. And also, I would like to say my appreciation for how you worked Supervisor Bittinger in with the vice chair position. I felt that you included him in a lot of things. You worked him in on just some of the duties of the chairperson. And so I'm very appreciative of that because that's what a chairman should do. So very appreciative of that. Being that we have 2 brand-new members and we have 3 more senior members, and given that you've just come off of 2 chairmanships in a row, I think that the next chair needs to be between Dan Bittinger and myself. Having reflected on that, I find myself being in the same problem that I was in a year ago, which is that because I'm on the Law Enforcement Center Authority, and given that that is a 3-member board, I cannot communicate with Authority Member Moore or Authority Chairperson Ron Wick, because that would be a violation of open meeting laws. And given that we're entangled in potential litigation and continued work on this project, I do not see how it is beneficial to anybody in Woodbury County to have a chairperson who cannot communicate with the chairperson of the authority. And so I would like to nominate Dan Bittinger for the office of chairperson. I think that Dan has grown a lot this past year with your guidance, Matthew. I think Dan has been great working with the authority. We assigned him as the liaison a year ago. I don't think you've missed a single meeting. You've got a great understanding of that. I think Dan's ready and capable to do this. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Nominations do not require a second, so we're good to go on that. Thank you for those comments, Mr. Nelson. That was unexpected. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, Dr. Scaff, Auditor and Clerk to the Board, do we need a motion to close nominations, or can we simply close them?
You can close them, and this will have to pass on a roll call vote.
Correct. Okay, nominations are closed, and we can discuss further if we wish to. Any of the new supervisors wish to discuss? Dan, do you wish to say anything?
Yeah, no, the only thing I would just say, no, thank you for the nomination, Supervisor Nelson, and to our Chairman Matthew. Now, thank you for these last 2 years serving very well. Hard 2 years. I got a lot of things done that helped move our county forward, but I appreciate your friendship and appreciate leading us and taking on 2 years. It's a lot of stress, and I echo Mark's sentiments 100%. That I know you love Woodbury County, you love seeing the people of our county served well and making sure businesses run efficiently, and so I appreciate that. Appreciate your dedication. It's been a long, I know a long 2 years, but I also know you've been on the board for many years and you've served with excellence and distinction, so thank you for that. So.
Thank you, Dan. This is a difficult meeting for me. Because I appreciate you too, and we're Christian brothers as well. So this is difficult. I really wish I could put my stamp of approval on this. I sincerely do. But based on my firsthand experience with Dan, I can't. There is no nicer supervisor in private, but he is unreliable in public, and unfortunately, this is a public office. He struggles to make and defend decisions unless there is unanimous support. And I want to say if that changes, he will be a good chair, and I'll be happy to see that. I won't undercut or sabotage or anything like that. I have no malice, and I don't think he has towards me either. But I've seen no evidence of this at that point, and so that's why I'm voting no. Please call the roll.
Can we have a motion and a second to appoint him as chair, and then we'll do the roll?
There was a nomination by Mr. Nelson.
There was not a motion or a second, though. He nominated him.
I'll move it.
I believe nominations can be made from the floor and then vote. We've always nominated and voted on the nominations, so Mr. Nelson has nominated him. If you prefer a second,
I'll second it.
Dietrich can second.
Okay, Carper,
Yes.
Dietrich,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Ung,
Nay.
Bittenger.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1, unopposed. Mr. Bittenger is now chair and will preside over item number 4. Would you like to
Yeah.
switch?
That's fine. All right, item number 3 is the election of the vice chairperson. This moment, we'll go ahead and open up nominations from the floor. I'll nominate Mark Nelson for vice chairman of the board. I think, Mark, you've proved yourself well, and you have a great grasp of the office and relationship with the different department heads and people, and so I think that, like you said earlier, with your role in the LAC, I think we need to keep good operational procedures where you can be able to talk to your fellow board members without violating any laws, anything like that. So, but no, I think you'll do well, and that's my nomination. Yeah.
Thank you.
If you need a second, I'll second.
Okay. All right. Motion by Binger, second by Ung. All right. Any further discussion? Okay. All right. Let's do the roll call, please.
Carper,
Yes.
Dietrich,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Ung,
Aye.
Bittenger.
Aye. All right. Motion passes 5-0. Congratulations, Mark.
Thank you.
Any thoughts? Any words you want to say? Anything? Or you good?
I appreciate it, and hopefully you can work me in the way Matthew's worked you in, and be happy to help you any way I can, Dan, and hopefully we can cross off even more things and start to have less stressful years, right? Thank you.
That's true. Yeah. Thank you, Mark. All right. On to number 5 is the approval of the agenda. I'll move it.
Second.
Motion by Bittenger, second by Nelson. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next, items 6 through 8 constitute a consent agenda of routine action items to be considered by one motion. Items pass unanimously unless a separate vote is requested by a board member. Number 6 is the annual adoption of the current rules for public participation in board meetings. Number 7 is approval of appointments listed below. And then number 8 is the approval of various boards and commissions. Any comments on the consent agenda?
I'd just like to make a comment on number 6. I know that we had been reached out to by a constituent. I'm sure he's watching, so that's why I wanted to comment on this. But was it a year ago or 2 years ago? Was it 2?
2.
That we changed public participation?
It was last year. I
Okay,
believe.
so a year
But
ago
we
we-
changed it before then as well.
Okay, so we had changed to only having public comment at the end of the meeting rather than one at the beginning and one at the end. And I had received some feedback that we need to go back to offering both. And at the time, I believe it was Chairman Ung that brought this proposal forward years ago. I had some concern about it. And then when I listened to his reasoning, I think it was just prior to I think it was 2 years ago, so I wasn't on the board yet. And thinking back to meetings that I had attended, I agree with why he did it, and I think it's important that we revisit that. So in the past, we've had, members of the public come for public concerns, which I always encourage them to do. I think it's great when we have people here, but they would come and a lot of times just yell at us or the prior supervisors and then leave. And the board never got a chance to really address any of their concerns. They never stuck around for any comment. We cannot comment during that time. We have to wait till board concerns or a specific agenda item, or you would have people come and during citizen concerns at the beginning, talk about an item that we were going to be discussing later, but then leave. I just don't find that to be professional. I don't find it to be I just find it as a total waste of time for everybody involved. And we've avoided that situation. I think we've had several circumstances where we've had citizens come up at the end, say something, and then we've been able to either answer their questions during board concerns or even ask them some more questions to get some more information. And that's a very positive thing. I think that's what the end goal should be, right? To resolve these issues, and to do that, we have to communicate and not, if they run off and they didn't sign in, we have no idea who they are, that's not constructive to anybody. And so I support leaving these rules, and also I think that we've been accessible. If you go to the website, our emails are there, our personal cell phone numbers are there. We've had people email in public comments that they've asked us to read it out loud, and we have done that every time. So the prior board, and I think this one, will never do anything to try to squash anybody's right to protest or ask questions or whatever, but I think it's got to be done in a reasonable and professional manner as well. So I wanted to address that. And then in regard to the calling in, that sort of thing, it's best when people are here, whether it's us, whether it's citizens, whether it's people presenting, they need to be here. I have no problem making accommodations if it's someone that couldn't get here because of inclement weather or an illness or something like that. I think we're all very reasonable and we can agree to that. But for someone that just doesn't want to call in because just don't want to make the effort, I don't know. I don't, that doesn't sit well with me. I think this form of government requires participation. And so I'm very active trying to reach people and hear what they have to say on the issues. And I think that they could meet us partway too. So those are just my 2 comments on number 6. Thank you.
All right, any other comments? All right. With that, I'll move it.
Second.
All right, any other discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in favor, all opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries 5-0. All right, on to number 9, reports on committee meetings. All right, no reports on that. Number 10, citizen concerns. All right, seeing none, we'll go on to number 11, any board concerns.
I'd like to say welcome to our 2 new supervisors. I know some of you got to meet some of these department heads and such a little bit beforehand, but I know that when I got on, Dennis Butler took me and we had a tour of the courthouse, and we had a tour of the old jail, and we had a tour of the treasurer's office, and I was very appreciative of that. And so obviously it's a huge hole not having him here, but I would encourage any of our department heads or staff to please reach out to, or other elected officials, reach out to these 2 and try to have them through your office and introduce them to your people and talk about what you do and why it's important. I think that's a wonderful, wonderful thing, and I know some of you already have, and so I appreciate that. As far as committee assignments, I know our new chairman will be looking through those. I would like to have, if possible, if Dave would be agreeable to it, but I would like to see Dave Dietrich as a liaison to the Law Enforcement Center Authority, because we have 2 rural supervisors that could serve in that capacity. I think it'd be great if Dave was the official liaison for that, and then he could be following along in some of those meetings. I think that would be a very positive thing, and I will try to send you my assignments. There's some that I was kind of covering for our other ones as they were phasing out that I'd like to take on and give up some other ones. So I'll try to let you know, and you can do what you have to from there.
Okay. Right, that's what I was going to say. I know that supervisor sent out the list to you guys, the new ones. I was going to say, if I get in the next week, have me any tweaks to that. If you have any things you want to drop or pick up or go on to a different committee, let me know. Just email me, and then we'll get those on the agenda as official assignments. Something to be thinking about about our budget sessions. I talked with auditor staff just briefly before the meeting about maybe potentially doing a couple day sessions instead of doing long nights. Maybe trying to knock it out in a bigger chunks, maybe 2 or 3 chunks during the day, either on a Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday potentially. But that would help with having some of the staff here during the day, and also our staff had kind of mentioned that might be more beneficial with their schedule potentially. But once again, in a new role, new year, let's look at what's worked best for all of us. So if you guys can look at your schedules and we'll begin to look at that about for the budget sessions. What does that look like? We may continue with maybe the 2 o'clock before the meetings and then finishing in the meetings like we've done in the years past. But we just want to look at some different ways of maybe shrinking down how many nights we have to work on this. And any thoughts, Otter, you have for that or comments?
I know it would be difficult, but I think the department heads might appreciate specific times when they come, because I know sometimes when
Okay.
they are drawn out, some individuals have to wait until the end when they are evening times, if there's any possibility of that.
Okay.
I'm flexible with my schedule with about anything, but I know some of those late meetings that go till 7 or 8 are a little trying on everyone.
Okay. All right. All right, that's all that I have. Anything else? Anything?
Well, I'd just like to say congratulations for, being the chair and the vice, and thank you to Mr. Ung, the outgoing chair, for the help that you guys have given me along the way during my campaign and everything and getting here. And I know we're not always going to agree on everything, but hopefully in the end we can, just come to, whatever we need to and keep everything cordial and polite. So we're looking forward to working with you guys.
All right. Yeah. All right, well, with